What have you found to be some helpful strategies for couples, for partners that are navigating conflict that can actually like lead to more connection in the relationship?
Yeah, I think you're actually identifying what the core issue is, which is not just how do we navigate conflict, but how do we prevent conflict, right? I mean, some conflict is inevitable, but fighting is not inevitable, right? Conflict is inevitable. So learning how to disappoint your partner tactfully and lovingly is, I think, really important. Like most people, you're not going to be able to 100% of the time give them everything they want, right? That's an unrealistic goal. So you're going to have to disappoint them from time to time. So it's probably better to learn how to disappoint someone occasionally in small ways than to disappoint them terribly in a giant way because you were so afraid of a small conflict that you build these very dysfunctional systems that cause a large conflict. So, like, it's better, I think, to learn early in a relationship how to tell someone something they don't want to hear and how to hear something from your partner that you wish wasn't true or that you don't want to hear, right? To disappoint them and to be disappointed by them and still love them and still feel loved by them, you know? And I think that's a huge, huge piece. Creating ways to communicate disappointment or disappointing news that are less toxic and less likely to lead to like big fights and big conflicts. And one of the suggestions I make in my book is called Hitting Send Now. There's a chapter called Hit Send Now, where I say you should actually use like email. I think email is actually a really good way to communicate tough things to your partner. And ideally when they're still kind of small. Because what I like about email is you can be thoughtful in how you phrase things. Like not everybody speaks in like, you know, the long Nietzschean paragraphs that like a Sam Harris or a, you know, Lex Friedman can do off the top of their heads. You know, sometimes people have a hard time phrasing something. So when you're writing something, you know, you can work on it. You can rework it until you say it the way you want to say it. You can even ask like a friend or a therapist or, you know, someone you trust, like, hey, what do you think of this? Did I say it the right way? If it's not something that you're afraid to share. And then also too, when you send it to your partner, you know, if you say to your partner, I want to talk to you, it feels confrontational, you know, and also they have to sort of immediately respond, or at least there's a pressure to feel like in a conversation, you're going to immediately respond. And that person might not be ready to do that. Or if they do, it might just be their off the cuff reaction that's going to be more defensive than if they had some time to digest it. So that's one of the reasons I like email, is that you can be thoughtful in its presentation and that this person can receive it in a less defensive way. And what I encourage people to do is to actually say to your partner, like have an open discussion of, look, we're going to create, calling it hit send now, like hitting send now. Like if you get an email and the subject heading is hitting send now, I'm just saying this to you. I'm sending this out there. I'm not saying you have to do anything. I just want you to know how I feel. And and the example that I use is like, we've all been in a situation, if we've ever been in relationships, we've all been in a situation where a partner says something and it like stings in some way. And they don't even realize it. Like they just keep moving, you know? Like we were out with friends and they're like, oh yeah, his sister does that all the time. His sister's like so annoying and da da da. And then they just keep going. And you're like, oh, really? Like, wow. Like, I thought you liked my sister. That's weird, you know? And like, you're not going to, in front of a bunch of people, be like, hey, what do you mean about my sister? Like, but it hurt. Like, it stung a little bit, you know? Or they like cut off something you said, well, I mean, he's always saying that, but that's crazy, you know? Like, and it just stung. It's not you slap me in the face, but it's like, oh, that hurt a little bit. And so that's something that you can just leave that little burning hot coal and push it way down, you know, and then just sort of like, well, you know, and that's how, you know, you end up in a relationship where like you're having a discussion about, you know, like what's the best traffic route to take to get to the place you're going. And 10 minutes later, you're like, you know, I never liked your mother. And it's like, wait, what the, like, where did that come from? And the answer is like, they just push and push down until the whole thing blows up. So I genuinely believe that having a technique where you could send, hit send now and say, look, the other night when we were out with friends and kind of made a comment about my sister, and maybe I took it too hard, but it just felt weird. Like I always thought you liked my sister, and it felt like you kind of were disrespecting her, and I didn't really know. And if there's some issue with you and my sister, like I'd like to know what it is because I kind of thought you guys got along. And even if you have an issue with her, like it felt weird that in front of people that you said that, and I didn't know if I should defend her. Like it just felt weird. And that gives this person a chance to like write back and be like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Like I just was just running my mouth, or I didn't mean to phrase it that way." Or maybe to say like, "Yeah, listen, your sister's never been kind of nice to me, and maybe I'm like carrying that around." And it gives like an invitation for people to have, a dialogue. So I think if you can learn how to openly share those small things. And I know, like, listen, there's a whole audience of people. I've heard this criticism before when the book came out. One of the most common things people were like, "You're telling me I should send emails every time my partner says something that upsets me? Like, are you kidding me?" Like, and you then say, "Don't criticize your partner." I don't see it as an opportunity to criticize. I see it as an opportunity. You're saying to this person, "I care enough about you and about us that I just want you to know me. I want you to know what I'm feeling and thinking so that we're not pushing things down because this is important to me." And I have to tell you, like, if someone who's been in relationships, when you frame it in your own head that someone is saying something to you because they care about you and because this is important to them, you hear it differently. You hear like there's a difference between someone yelling at you because they want to yell at you and yelling at you because the car is coming to hit you and they want you to get out of the way. Like one is to hurt your feelings, the other is to prevent you from being hurt. I think the more you hear your spouse telling you something you did or said that upset them as, "Hey, you're important to me," the better off you are.
You touched on like the importance of preventing conflict in a relationship and in a marriage and like some of the things you can do, for that. I know we've talked about connection is ultimately the thing that makes or breaks a relationship or a marriage. And the reality is that people are busy and, after the initial high of a relationship wears off or when things get, super busy with kids and everything, sometimes the connection piece goes out the window because they're just so busy and overwhelmed with other things that are frankly important. What advice do you have for couples to maintain like little things they can do on a daily basis or weekly basis to maintain connection even when things are super busy?
Yeah, so I would call people out on that as bull. I think that that's like when people go, "I'm too busy to exercise." Really? Like really? If I told you there's a pill you could take, it's going to make you sleep better, have sex better, it's going to improve your mood, it's going to make you more effective, it's going to make your body look better, it's going to make everything work better. Would you take that pill? And they'd say, "Well, yeah, of course." Okay, it's called exercise, takes 20 minutes a day to swallow it. And you're too busy. It's like the old joke about, a monk says to a man, "I think you need to meditate a half an hour a day." And the guy says, "I don't have a half an hour a day to meditate." And he says, "Okay, then I think you need to meditate an hour a day." Like, I think if you say, "I don't have time to connect with my partner," then you really need to make time to connect with your partner. Like, that's huge. That's huge because it doesn't take much. I think most of us, if we're being honest, right, really honest, would you rather have 5 hours with your romantic partner where they're kind of half paying attention, but they're mostly on their phone and they're, like kind of leaving the room, or like an hour where you are the whole world? Like they are paying attention to you. They are paying attention to the connection. Like most people would say, "Hey, I want like I would like a really amazing. Do you want a whole bunch of really crappy food at the buffet? Or do you want a really nice, satisfying, smaller meal, but it's delicious?" It's a no-brainer for most people. And by the way, which of those two is better for you. It's way better to have. So I think that the time thing, you make time for your relationship. When you're first dating someone, you certainly make time. for them. You can't wait. You can't wait. It's not like, oh, I have time to kill. You make time. Like you're like, oh my God, I want to talk to this person. Like your phone goes off. You're like, what's going on there? And so make time. That's piece one. Piece two, I think it's little things. I really do. I think little things, man. I mean, little things make us feel loved. Little things make us feel loved, whether it's the cup of coffee the person makes or the food that they know you like that they bought for you, or the little